made the ocean. I thought the sunglasses would be appropriate, but we can take those off now. They gotta get better about saying So listen to that. Pretty cool, right? I made this the other morning, I think? Yeah. I was trying to think about ocean sounds and how I'd go about making those, and I realized that it's actually pretty complex. I also got an overhead camera, which is really cool because now you can actually see what I'm doing. This one is still old school, so I still only have a 25-minute time limit so we're going to try and get this done in that period of time, but I'm going to go over the sound, how I made it, and try and recreate it from scratch. We'll see how that goes. Oh, that was a good one. The waves were tricky. Yeah, let's get into it. Pretty cool though, right? So I have 3 different layers going here, and basically they are all set up to start whenever I press a note, and then I have the hold function on all 3 of them going. So ocean, no ocean, ocean. You get the idea. So what are the 3 components? Let's check each one out, and then we'll recreate them. Actually, I don't really have that much time, so let's just start. Let's just do it from scratch. It might not sound as good because I did spend quite a bit of time fine-tuning this, but initialized patch as usual. So first of all, doesn't sound very much like the ocean, right? Turn that off. I had this idea because I was talking about the noise generator and how awesome it is, and so that's what got me kind of thinking about noise, and it's really cool. It can do red or white or white to purple, and I was thinking about like what a wave sounds like. So check this out. Doesn't this sound exactly like when you're just at the beach and you're maybe like out a ways laying on your towel, and you can just kind of hear that low rumble of the ocean in the background? So that's sort of what the red noise sounds like to me. And then the waves kind of have that quality to them, right? They sort of start, and then as they approach and crash, there's that. So we want to recreate all these different elements, and the cool thing about the Moog One is you can have 3 different layers going, right? So that allows us to, let's start off with the rumble. I think that would be a good place to start. So I'll put that on synth 3, and change the noise to, so we have the noise going to the ladder filter, and then we have the ladder cut off completely open at the moment. Let's make it look like that. And then we're gonna cue up some red noise. Hold that. And then we'll just kind of change the slope of the ladder filter to like 6 decibels per octave and bring it back. And fuck yeah, that's some Low rumble ocean sound right there. 17 minutes, we're killing it. We already have one layer. That's the easy part. Now, the waves. The waves will be easiest to figure out if I turn this off. So leave this off for now, and we'll turn keyboard control, and we'll go back to Synth One, and we'll get this going. So back to the ladder filter. We want this kind of crashing sound, right? But we also want the wave to have a volume component, right? So the first thing we're going to do is take care of that, because that'll be similar on both of the wave sounds. Why two different wave sounds? Because otherwise the ocean's just going to sound a little boring. It's never just one wave, you know, you have like multiple waves coming in at different times. So first thing we'll do is get that noise going, and then I'm going to latch and loop the amp envelope. Envelope. I feel like every person who's ever done a synth video is wondering about that. How to say that right. We'll say amplifier envelope. I like envelope right now for this. It'll change tomorrow. And then we're going to do reset on, so that it actually goes through the full cycle the whole time. So you can actually hopefully see what the waveform of the, or what the envelope looks like. Yeah, cool, very cool. First time with the overhead camera. So what is the lifetime of a wave without even like listening? I always try to think about like, what does a sound like if I'm trying to recreate something specific, and like what is the shape of it? What's the lifetime of that sound look like? So a wave we know is gonna take a while. It's like coming in, right? So there's gonna be a relatively long attack, a very long release, and then probably like when it's cresting and then it crashes, that crash is like the apex of the sound, and after that everything else should be a bit quieter. So we don't actually need, but it's still pretty loud, so we can have a little bit of a drop, and that crash happens really quickly, right? So it's like whoosh, and then it's now at its, you know, sustain level. So let's listen to what that sounds like. That already sounds like a wave. Isn't that cool? I was just like, what would it sound like if I did this? And then I think that's such a fun way to do sound design. If you're trying to just explore and like have fun, obviously like not necessary. But if you're trying to recreate a sound, break the sound down and think about the different components. So in this case, oh man, that sounds so good already. Waiting for the next wave cycle. Whispering is fun. Okay, cool. But we already talked about how like when I was changing the color mix, it doesn't start out with this like, it's not all this washy white noise, right? Because that's usually after the wave is broken, but there's that low rumble as the wave is approaching, and then the kind of washout. I've spent some time by the ocean, you can tell, or I hope you can. So we want to automate that. Well, you know what an easy way would be? Words is hard. You know what would be an easy way to do that, to accomplish that task, would be to just send this amplifier envelope to the color mix so that it will open up at the same time as the wave is like cresting in volume, which is exactly what we want. So coolest part about the Moog One, hit this destination knob, turn the color mix. And let's just go with like 28% right now. We can come back and change it later. And I'm gonna set the color mix down so it's mostly red noise to start. Ah, it already sounds good. Why don't we bring it back a little bit, and then I'll go to the mod matrix, delete the initialized kind of, when you start an initialized patch, it has the mod wheel set up to modulate the pitch of all the oscillators, you know, as we like to do to get some vibrato. What was I doing? Oh, right. So turn this up just a little bit until I can start to hear it like sound the way I want it to. So it's mostly red at the beginning. That sounds really good to me. Maybe even just a little bit more red. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So now, next step is we don't want that wave to just be going. Like, otherwise, what are we doing? We're just listening to a loop, and loops are fun, okay? Sorry, and also sorry to anybody who is doing loop-based music. Loops are fun. But what we're gonna do now is two things. In the amplifier, and actually in all the envelope sections, there's a time scale. And for the time scale, I have 11 minutes, great. This can be, this is basically the value as a percentage, if that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Let me explain it better. All these settings I have right now, the 2.5 seconds for the attack, the 85% sustain, well, that one wouldn't be included, but the 10-second release, those are all in relation to one another. So if I change the time scale, it's going to reduce all of those by the same factor. So if I set the time scale to 50%, this is 100, right? So this is the wave we've been listening to for the past God knows how long. If I set this down to 50, it's going to be faster, right? If I set it up to 200, and it can go quite high, it takes a lot longer. If I go up to 500, it changes again. It goes all the way up to 1,000. Oh my God, I'm wasting so much time demonstrating this. Hashtag whispering is fun. You get the idea. And timescale also works, I believe, as the envelope is moving. So after it's been triggered. So cool thing we can do to vary the, frequency of the waves would be to modulate this timescale, and we can just do that with one of our LFOs. So I could, let's say LFO 4, and this, since timescale doesn't have its own dedicated knob, we just go to Edit Modulation. We will find that in the, so this is Envelope Generator 2, timescale. This is just the easiest synth I've ever used to just something in my brain, translate it here. It's so well thought out, and that's actually one of the things I really just love. So like, let's just set this to 25% per now. And this LFO, which I can't quite see, maybe you can kind of see it blinking quite fast. It's blinking quite fast. So let's turn this down. And this is so you can see it, boop, bipolar triangle. Let's change that to a sine, because why not? And so this is just going to slowly now change over time. The time scale, which is over time going to change, make the initiation of a new wave off of a, God, I'm trying to sound way too smart right now. It's going to make the waves sound more random. I have 8 minutes left, so another quick thing is, if we listen to that now, sounds pretty good. So another thing that, like, there's not just one wave happening, right? So, hey, you know what's cool about having a 16 voice analog polysynth is you can engage the unison mode. And let's just set it to 4. And now we have a much thicker wave, right? An even cooler thing that we can do is we can go into the mod matrix again, and we can go to the set up a random key. Actually, is that how we want to do it? Yes, because I believe each new envelope cycle will trigger a new random value. And what we're going to do is we're going to send, so every time I press a key, it's going to generate some random value from like 0 to 1, right? Something like that. So now if I go to the amplifier envelope, which is envelope generator 2, there's a delay. And what this is going to do is make each one of those 4 voices start at a little bit of a different time, because they're all having their delay modified by this random keyed value. So now instead of having a wave that sounds like really just vanilla, and maybe if I take these off, you can actually hear clear source filter, thank you. So we'll disable this, disable this. So this is without any of the modulation that I did. And it's just going to be like the same thing over and over again. Oh god, I think my watch died. Bad timing. Okay. I'll try to wrap this up then in the next 5 minutes. Although I don't really know what 5 minutes looks like. iPhone to the rescue. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. We will set a little timer for 5 minutes so that I know. I think this is a pretty cool video though so far. You can tell me if I'm wrong. So let's enable those. We don't have a lot of time. So now let's go back just and we'll try to recreate all those things real quick. Actually, no. We're going to leave Synth 2 off. I'll just reload that patch later so we can listen to the ocean one more time. But let's go back and let's turn the low rumble on, right? So here's that low rumble. We have hold on for this. We have hold on for this. And we made the ocean. It's so cool. It's so, so cool. And I love this synthesizer because I could not have done this on my Iridium as well. It's also not analog. I can't think of another synthesizer where I could have three different analog layers, and I could have basically like 4 voices per wave or more, and just have it sound like this amazing. So I'll load up that patch that I was using too at the very beginning. These are all my patches. I will release some sometime, so never fear. What's this called? The Ocean. I will definitely release this patch because this one is so dope. And let's just check it out again. So good. So basically, the way I made that one wave, I did it slightly different on Synth 2. And if we go into the mod matrix, you can see that I'm doing a couple things differently, or maybe you can't see. One of the things that I didn't do on that on the recreation was I used one of the LFOs to randomly, or not randomly, but to pan the wave sound over time. The Moog One has a spread function in the VCA section, but it'll take one of the voices and it'll put it either left or right to a certain amount. The problem is that only happens when you press a key. So for things where you're holding, using the spread function isn't so great, because then we would just have the wave hitting you know, this much to the left, to the left, or to the right each time. Excuse me, the whole time, as opposed to having them kind of like, you know, drift around. So that was something else that I added, was taking one of the LFOs and just kind of spreading the, I spread the rumble, as I call it, quite wide. So this should be very stereo. And then the two other waves, which again, they're not really moving in sync with one another. They're totally independent, and they're just going. And this is one of my favorite patches that I've ever made, and it's just noise. And I can't think of something outside of a modular setup where I could do this. And I can't think of a setup outside of the synthesizer that could do this so easily and so gracefully. And that's something that's so beautiful about this. And the people at Moog, like, chef's kiss, my friends, because I literally had this running for like 6 hours or something, and I'm actually just gonna make a video probably of just this sound because it sounds so good to me. I genuinely thought I was at the beach. And for someone who lives in a studio apartment in a very, very large and crowded city, I can't always get to the beach. And it's also kind of cold now, so I'm definitely not getting to the beach. Anyway, that's a lot of talking as usual, but I hope you enjoyed the video. As you can see, I'm trying to do these more regularly. Like, subscribe, hit the alert bell, leave some comments. I love answering comments. Please be positive. I will always try to answer questions about what I do and this synth in particular. I will do other videos, but as is often the case, I was had this thing turned on in the morning and I sat down without any real intention, and then bam, this came out and I love it. So thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Is she gonna put the shades back on? Yeah, she is. Yep, here it comes. I should have worn my big sun hat, but